Once upon a time in the city of Lagos, there lived a young nurse named Chidinma Nwachukwu. She didn't talk much. She didn't like to argue or gossip. She didn't wear loud makeup or chase attention like some of the other nurses did. But she was always the first to arrive at the hospital and the last to leave. People called her boring. Some even laughed behind her back. But Chidinma didn't mind. She believed that doing her job well was more important than anything else. Her mother always told her, if you care for others with clean hands and a clean heart, God will reward you. So Chidinma carried those words like a song in her heart. She worked at Supreme Life Hospital, a tall white building in the heart of Victoria Island, where rich and important people came when they were sick. Most of the staff tried to impress the VIP patients. But Chidinma was the same with everybody, from the governor's cousin to the cleaner's wife. She talked gently, cleaned wounds carefully, and always made sure the old patients took their medicine on time. One evening, the clouds were heavy. The rain had started to fall like it was angry with the earth. The wind pushed against the windows, and thunder growled in the distance. Chidinma had just finished checking a patient's drip when the emergency bell rang loudly through the hallway. Prepare the VIP room. Nurse Bimp shouted, holding a walkie-talkie. We're getting a special case. Big one. The nurses rushed like ants. Some started spraying perfume in the hallway. Others adjusted their wigs and makeup, but Chidinma walked calmly to the ICU wing. Minutes later, a black SUV stopped right in front of the emergency entrance. Two men jumped out, followed by another man with dark glasses and a walkie-talkie. A stretcher was pulled out. On it lay a man with tubes in his nose and blood on his white kaftan. His eyes were shut. His chest rose slowly. Is that who I think it is? Nurse Funk whispered, eyes wide. Chief Alhaji Ibrahim Dentada, another nurse said, blinking. The billionaire, the oil tycoon, the one with 6 houses in Ikoyi. The one whose family fought in court last year, someone added. The whole hallway froze. The doctors ran to him. The matron herself came downstairs. There were whispers, phone calls, and tension in the air. But in all the noise, the only thing clear was this: the man might not survive the night. They placed him in the special ICU suite. Doctors worked fast. Machines beeped. The matron called for extra staff. But by midnight, the hallway was silent again. Visitors were told to leave. Security guards stood by the door. Nurses took turns watching over him. By 2 a.m., most had gone to rest, but Chidinma was still awake. She sat quietly by the edge of the bed. She looked at the man's face. There was a long scar near his eyebrow. His beard was gray. His lips were dry. She dipped cotton in warm water and cleaned the blood near his nose. As she worked, the door opened. Matron Adebayo stepped in and paused. You're still here? The matron asked. Chidinma nodded. He hasn't moved at all. I'm watching his vitals. The matron looked at her for a moment. You're a strange girl, Chidinma, she said. You don't even flinch around people like him. Do you know how powerful this man is? I just see a sick man, Chidinma said quietly. The matron didn't reply. She walked out again. Chidinma stayed. She stayed until the rain stopped. She stayed until the birds outside began to sing. She stayed until the clock ticked past 6 a.m. And then something happened. The man's fingers twitched. Chidinma jumped to her feet. His eyes opened slowly. They were weak and dull, but they looked straight at her. His lips moved. No sound came out. She leaned in. Do you know your name? She asked gently. He blinked once. She placed a hand on his shoulder. You're in the hospital. Supreme Life Hospital. You came in last night. You were unconscious. Can you speak? His voice was dry, cracked. Water. She brought the straw to his lips and helped him take a few sips. He coughed lightly, then whispered, "Who are you?" "I'm Chidinma. I'm a nurse. I've been watching over you." He stared at her, not with fear, not with pride, but with something in between. Then he said, "Don't let them near me." She blinked. "Who?" "Anyone. Them. My people, staff, family. I don't trust them." There was a long silence. He looked away, then back at her. "You're the only one who sat with me." Chidinma didn't know what to say. She just nodded. Then he whispered, "I want you to stay." "I'll inform the matron," she said gently. "No," he said, stronger this time. "Just you, please." She looked into his tired eyes. "All right," she said softly. "I'll stay." From that moment, everything changed. The next day, his family arrived. 3 men in suits. A woman in high heels with a geli covering her face. They demanded to see him. The matron tried to explain that he needed rest. But Al-Haji Ibrahim refused to open his door. When they insisted, his voice was heard from inside. "If it's not Nurse Chidinma, I don't want to see anybody." The matron turned to her. "What did you do to him?" "I only stayed," Chidinma replied. From that day, Chidinma was the only one allowed in his room. She fed him, changed his drip, listened to him speak in broken whispers. He didn't talk much about money or business. He didn't brag. Instead, he asked her about her life, her family, why she became a nurse. "Because my mother died when I was small," Chidinma told him one evening. "She bled too much during childbirth. They said if someone had reached the hospital earlier, she would have lived. So I promised to help people live, even if I couldn't save her." He looked at her for a long time. Then he whispered, "You're not like them." "Like who?" she asked. "The others. The ones who smile but hide knives behind their backs." She didn't answer. But deep inside, something in her heart was beginning to stir. She didn't know what it was. Not yet. All she knew was that this man, this rich and powerful man who had the whole city at his feet, had chosen her. Not for her beauty, not for her fame, but for something simpler, her presence, her silence, her heart. And on the 7th day, he said something strange. "Chidinma," he said slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Do you believe in second chances?" She looked at him. "Yes, I do." He closed his eyes. "Then I need yours." The room smelled of antiseptic and medicine. Soft beeping from the heart monitor filled the air. The morning sun pushed through the window blinds, casting thin golden lines on the tiled floor. Chidinma sat on a small chair next to Al-Haji Ibrahim's bed, holding a warm towel. She gently wiped his face as he lay still with tired eyes. "Do you believe in second chances?" he had asked. "Yes, I do," Chidinma had answered without thinking twice. Then he had closed his eyes and whispered, "Then I need yours." Now, hours later, he hadn't said a word. He just stared at the ceiling. Chidinma adjusted the blanket on him and stood up to check the drip. Suddenly, he spoke again. "Do you know what it's like?" he said in a low voice. "To sleep in a house full of people and still feel alone." Chidinma looked at him. She wasn't sure if he was asking her or just talking to himself. He turned his head slowly and met her eyes. "You don't. You still smile like someone who has peace." Chidinma took a deep breath. "Sometimes I cry when I'm alone, sir. I just don't do it in front of people." A small corner of his mouth moved. Not a full smile, just a flicker. "Good," he said. "That means you still feel." "I stopped crying 30 years ago." There was a silence. Then he asked, "Chidinma, do you know who I am?" "Yes, sir," she replied gently. You're Chief Alhaji Ibrahim Dentata. You own Dentata Holdings. You're very rich. Is that all? That's all I've heard. He stared at her a while longer, then looked away. Then you don't know me at all. That's good. He reached for her hand, his fingers shaking. Don't believe what they tell you about me. I don't listen to gossip, Chidinma said, placing her other hand on top of his. Don't trust them either, he said, voice trembling slightly. They're smiling now, but they are waiting like vultures for me to stop breathing. She stayed quiet. His grip on her hand grew tighter. They will come, he said, pretending to care. Some will cry, some will shout, but they all want the same thing. My name, my land, my signature. I don't want anything from you, sir. I know, he whispered, finally letting go of her hand. That's why you're the only one I trust. Just then, there was a soft knock on the door. Chidinma looked up. Nurse Bimp opened the door slightly and peeped in. Chidinma, she whispered. His son is here and his lawyer. They want to see him. Chidinma turned to look at Alhaji Ibrahim. His jaw tightened. His chest moved a little faster. Tell them I'm asleep, he said. But sir. Tell them I said no. Bimp blinked, then looked at Chidinma. Matron said. Get out. Alhaji Ibrahim said sharply. Bimp froze for a second, then slowly closed the door. Alhaji Ibrahim took a deep breath. I warned them. I said I don't want to see anyone. I meant it. Chidinma stepped closer. Maybe they care, sir. He gave a dry laugh. Care. My first son hasn't visited me in 2 years. Now he shows up with a lawyer. What do you think he came for? Hugs. I don't know, sir, she said quietly. Exactly. You don't know, he said, his voice rising a little. But I do. I know what they are capable of. I built everything with my hands. They just want to sign papers and take it all. Chidinma didn't answer. She sat back down and folded her hands on her lap. Alhaji Ibrahim looked at her again. Do you think I'm a bad man? She looked up, surprised. No, sir. I've done things, he said slowly. Things I'm not proud of. But one thing I regret, one thing I wish I could undo. His voice trailed off. He turned his head to the window. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night. Hearing her voice, hearing her laugh, and then I remember. I let her go. I chose money. I chose power. And now I'm dying with all of it. But without her. Chidinma frowned gently. Who is she? He blinked slowly. I'll tell you soon. But first, I need to be sure. Sure of what? Sure that you're the one. The one for what, sir? But he didn't answer. He just closed his eyes and whispered, watch them, Chidinma. Watch how they start to come around now. You'll see what I mean. And he was right. That same afternoon, the door knocked again. This time, a different nurse opened it without asking. Behind her stood a tall man in a designer suit. His face was sharp. His eyes were cold. He didn't wait to be invited in. Dad, he said, stepping into the room. It's me, Tund. Alhaji Ibrahim turned his head but didn't say a word. Dad, I flew in from London, the man continued. They told me you weren't doing well. I said I don't want to see anyone, Alhaji Ibrahim cut in. Tund forced a smile. Come on, Dad. Don't be like this. I'm not your project. Get out. Dad, please. Chidinma stood up. Sir, maybe you should let him speak. Chidinma, the old man said slowly. Please ask him to leave. Tund's face changed. He turned to Chidinma. Excuse me, who even are you? Are you his nurse or his wife? Chidinma didn't answer. She just looked down. I'm his nurse, she said softly. Well, then act like one and leave us to talk. But Al-Haji Ibrahim raised his hand. If she leaves, he said coldly, you leave too. Tund clenched his jaw. You're being unfair. No, Tund, he said. I'm being wise. Tund laughed bitterly and turned to leave. At the door, he paused and looked back. He's dying and he's giving his heart to a nurse. Then he walked out and slammed the door behind him. Chidinma sat down again. Al-Haji Ibrahim stared at the ceiling. They think they know me, he said. But they only know what I let them see. He looked at Chidinma with sad eyes. You remind me of her. Who? Amina. Silence. Chidinma waited, but he didn't say more. The next day, it got worse. His second son came. Then a cousin. Then a politician friend. Then 2 pastors. Then a man who said he was a doctor from Saudi Arabia. They all came. They all asked to see him. He refused them all except Chidinma. Why me? She finally asked on the 3rd day. He looked at her with those tired eyes again. Because you listen. Because you care. Not because of what I have, but because I'm human. She didn't know what to say. Later that night, as she adjusted his pillow, he spoke again. Chidinma, do you believe in secrets? I think everyone has one, she said. He nodded. Mine has been locked away for 28 years, but it's time. Time for what? To tell someone. To fix what I broke. To right a wrong. She looked at him closely. His hand reached out and gently tapped the table beside him. There's a bag under this bed, he said. She bent down and pulled out a small black leather bag. Open it. She opened the zipper. Inside was a brown envelope, thick with papers. On top of the papers was a silver key. Next to it, an old photograph of a young woman holding a baby. Chidinma stared. That's her, he said. That's Amina. The only woman I ever loved. She touched the photo carefully. She's beautiful. She was more than that, he said. She was everything. But I left her. I left her because my family said she wasn't good enough. Because she didn't come from money. Because I was weak. He looked away. I gave her a house far from the city, in Badagry. I thought it would keep her safe. I promised to return, but I never did. He looked back at Chidinma. His eyes were red. She was carrying my child when I left. Chidinma gasped quietly. You had a child with her? He nodded. A daughter. Her heart beat faster. What happened to them? I don't know, he said. I've tried to find them. I've paid people. I've searched. Nothing. And now I'm dying. Chidinma was quiet. She didn't know what to say. Her mind was spinning. He pointed at the key. That's the key to the house in Badagry. That's where she stayed. I need you to go there. Me? Yes, you. She held the key in her hand, confused. Why me, sir? Because I trust you. Because you'll do it with clean hands. Not for money, not for name, but for truth. Chidinma sat down slowly. She stared at the photo again. What if they're gone? Then at least I tried, he whispered. At least I didn't take the secret to my grave. He closed his eyes. I have so much, but I feel empty. I have cars, houses, land, but no peace. I want peace, Chidinma. I want to see her face again. Or my daughters. Before I go. Chidinma looked at the photo once more. And in that moment, something inside her changed. She didn't know what she was stepping into. She didn't know who she would find or what she would discover. But she knew one thing. She couldn't say no.